We got a full on
So
volume.
I sell a lot of Legos to JCD and Hobby here in town, and when I go in there to get my, I'll drop off a plastic bin that you can get at any Walmart or wherever, like a storage bin full of Legos, and then I'll come back a couple days later, and while I'm waiting for them to get my offer or to paperwork, whatever, I'm standing by all of the trades,
Yeah.
and I'm standing at the end of it, right? So generally, I look at Marvel stuff because it's pretty easy to tell that it's Marvel from the spine, right? So I'm what kind of stuff is anything here that it can't even? And I see this. We only find them when they're dead. Al Ewing,
Good title.
and I'm like, well, fuck.
Long, but good.
And I'm like, well, fuck.
That seems.
It's Al Ewing. So I look at it, and here's what it says. Captain Malik and the crew of the Vihan 2 are in search of the only resources that matter and can only be found by harvesting the giant corpses of alien gods found on the edge of human space. While other autopsy ships and explorers race to salvage the meat, minerals, and metals that sustain the human race, Malik sees an opportunity to finally break free from the system by being the first to find a living god. Now, right away, I'm kind of hooked, and then I've come to find out that it's I think it's 5 issues. It's 15 total issues.
Yeah, it's 5 apiece.
So it's 5 for each one, and there's 3 volumes, and each volume, I don't know this yet, but so I start reading it, and it's really cool because it's these ships, and they're going off, and everybody is racing to the dead corpse, and everybody picks like a section of the corpse, and they pick the cheek, so they show them like harvesting the cheek.
It's the 24th
meat.
century.
Yeah.
And at this point,
all the resources on Earth are gone.
So all of the all the food, everything, because these gods are these colossal beings.
Well, no, the Earth ran out of resources, and then they found these gods, and they realized that they could. Yes,
they're so massive they could just mine these dead gods for resources, like you're saying, like cutting off a piece of the cheek for the.
They have no idea where they come from. They don't come on a certain schedule. They just
show up, and then these mining ships show up. They claim a piece of the god.
There's a mining consortium that controls all of it, and there's rules and regulations. Yeah. You can't do certain things, and this guy Malik is like, well, fuck that, and he ends up going past where they're supposed to go.
Because we kind of get it like sprinkled throughout each issue of this, but yeah, his family, there's a tragic thing that happens with his family, and because of that event, he is set on this mission to find a living god. That is what he always wants. He's like, because he is with his boyfriend, and they're talking, and he's like, I want to do this because we have we only find them when they're dead. There has to be more to this. There has to be something on the other side.
Where are they? Where are they alive?
And yes, they had to have been alive at some point.
At some point, they get to when they get to us, they're dead. Right. So how far back do we have to go? Da 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 da. And so he, and there's a side story between him and the navigator in his ship, and this other woman is chasing them. And that becomes a whole thing because they eventually escape and break the rules, and they go off into hyperspace, and they find eventually a live god, and this girl catches up to them.
Yeah, okay. One cool thing I wanted to mention.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, no, I'm not dismissing that because I want to touch on that because it's Paula Richter, by the way, is the one who's chasing him.
Uh-huh.
There's a motif. Motif, is that the proper term? But there's this thing that pops up throughout each issue that it's a running thing that you always see. And there's 2 of them. There's one, the year is blank. The year is blank.
Well, there's time jumps.
Because there's time jumps between these 2 times.
Well, there's flashbacks.
One of my favorite things, too, in the first issue is they do All's Bells. It was 8 bells, All's Well, or whatever. Yeah. And they do all that when they find a god. And my favorite thing is a 2-page splash of this massive dead god.
The art is fucking
in space.
Insane.
It's almost like I'm watching a animated show. Like, it's crazy. That is the work of the art.
Great way to describe it. If you took like cells from an animated movie and put them in a book, that's what this looks like.
So, it says that, and then
I mean, shit. It's 5 issues, dude.
No, read the book.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Look, we said this last week with the Green
We're
Lantern.
not gonna.
When we do in volumes, when it's multiple issues like
Yeah.
that, we're not going to
We're
break.
doing overview, man.
We're not going to break it down like we would single issues. But yeah, it says the gods are always beautiful and the gods are always dead.
Mm-hmm.
But like just shots like that. So Richter, when they show her, it like the example that we saw when we first meet.
I got to like the middle
Malik.
of the book already, man.
I know. I went back to where we were, douchebag. So what I wanted to point out was each time there's a different ship, there's this caption that says the ship is the escort one, an escort ship with a crew of 1. And then it'll be like it'll go Malik's ship, a crew of 5, or crew of, and it counts how many are dead at that point or how many are alive, and like, so yeah, they eventually decide to break through, and Richter chases them on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And
Richter like works for the
they keep,
entity that controls all the god mining.
They keep them, they keep the mining.
She's like a security
in
cop
check
type of thing.
She has a past with him that gets developed,
which
and
you read about throughout the story.
Yeah.
Won't give it away. But there's something there's something going on in there.
So chapter 2 is when they finally break through the other side, and then everything after that, when they break through to the other side of where the gods are, is where the story. It's focused on that part. There's no other places that we're going.
Well, they get beyond where anybody has ever been before recorded,
because
that's when they finally find a god. Well,
I'm getting there. You're on the same page I am. So when they get to the god, no, it's fucking cool. Like, and I don't want to downplay it. Like, I need to get her. So at this point, Richter's caught up to them, broken into the ship, and Malik's best friend is like, he's like, you need to get out of there. Like, we need to figure this out, and we need to tell her to stop. And she's like, no, fuck her. Richter wants you dead. She's gonna never stop chasing you. Let's fucking deal with her now. So she tries to throw like some mines on Richter, and Richter says it doesn't work. She says it's my turn and fights her. But before that, they see the god wake up. So this is the first time any of them has seen this, a god waking up, and it's just. And you know what? I don't think I've ever imagined what it would be like to witness a god waking up or reawakening or whatever. But it's a really interesting concept of like, of course, why wouldn't it just be beams of light from this giant celestial being being like, I am awake? So it was really fucking cool. Like, and it's a 2-page splash, but they're also in this like weird void of space, so there isn't a ton of color. And when it does shine through, man, it's fucking.
I don't want to give too much of the end part away. Suffice to say,
there was an accident.
There's an accident because of Richter and her aggressiveness to catch Malik, and Malik loses one of his friends, and again, I don't want to give it too much away, but there's a tragedy, and they end up. Malik says, "Fuck this! I'm gonna keep going."
Chapter 4 was my favorite because they kept playing. It really plays with Ewing's motif of the fucking time jumps, because it's constantly cutting back between different stages of Malik's life, where the same theme keeps
comes really into play in the final issue of the book, because it shows what they're finally deciding to do is to keep pressing on. And then what's the final page here?
No, I don't want to spoil it. Well, the last thing is they have the fight where the god.
No, it's not where I was going.
These are the last like 2 pages. Yeah. Anyway, at the end of that fight is a great moment too of Malik with Richter, at the very end of it being like, what was it all for? What was it all for? Like, these people died, and I wanted to get to this thing, and we finally had it, and we lost it, and it's a great moment too. But then you're also seeing the true colors of Malik by something that gets revealed, that you're like, oh, this isn't the hero we think he is, or this isn't the character they would lead you to believe. It's a really cool twist, and I think that I'm glad that we have all 3 volumes. It's exciting the next 2 weeks, wrapping up the story and seeing where it goes.
He keeps going. He goes farther and farther and farther, and he goes and finds something crazy, And
sees, like,
that's
all of the
final.
gods.
I wasn't. Whatever. He finds something crazy.
Who cares? I'm not gonna read it.
Yeah. And then there's a time jump of like 100 years,
Please read
and
it.
there's a
It's a good
guy
book.
going like, it's going to be another no-show, and there's these ships, an autopsy ship is what they're called, not really mining ships, but they see all the bells start ringing because a god's about to show up, and a god does show up, but not the way that they think,
And he's not dead. It's a god that's alive.
and you'll just have to wait till next week.
Yeah, I have in my hands Volume 2. I will say,
I gotta
when you,
reread
when
Volume
you were
3.
giving me these books, you said this goes in. I think you said in the first one, this goes in a direction I didn't expect, and then you gave me the next volume. You're like, yeah, this really doesn't go in a direction I expect, and then the third volume, like each volume, you kept saying that.
Well,
And that excites me because this book,
the first volume,
this is already going in a direction I didn't expect.
the second volume is like 400 or 500 years, or like 80 years.
Volume 2 is 50
80
years after Volume
yeah, and
1.
then Volume 3 is like 100 years after or like 150 years after
We're
Volume
doing,
1.
like fucking Frank Herbert, Dune style, massive gaps in time.
I'll say this: when I finally got to the
Storytelling.
end of the whole of
Style.
all 3 volumes, I did sit there and go, "What was the purpose of all this?" You're not going to see.
Point?
Hang on, let me fucking. You're not going to see an adaptation. You're not going to see a movie. You're not going to see a TV show. You're not going to see a cartoon. You're not going to see any of this shit. So what's the purpose of it? I don't know. But I will say that it was a cool fucking concept. Well done. And hats off to the 2 people?
Yeah.
Hats off to the 2 people that created it and made it.
Also, this is book 1, The Seeker.
Only $10.
If you're following along
And
at
then
home,
the second one.
book 2, The Stealer, is what we'll be doing next.
You got the fucking Google. You got the Google.
Why do you get fucking like this every time? I swear to God, you hit a max point.
You get the Google.
3 hours of hanging out. We only recorded an hour and a half.
No, look. Sometimes people
Where's
call.
the content?
Hang on. Sometimes no, because God damn it. Sometimes people call in and they're like, "Hey, where do I find the website for dirt to dirt to dirt?" And I'm like, "You have what you're calling me on right now is a computer, and I'm running a live radio show. No, that's not the same as this." But I go and I'm like, you need to not be calling me with this because you should be able to just Google it. Now, I appreciate that you're telling us the names of each volume.
Do you?
Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.